Marketing Director of Reborn, Mina Chen. On behalf of our design team, I'm going to talk about our company, what we believe and what our products are. And because in these assignments, I asked them to establish a company by themselves. So, and the second slide is the outline. So this is the outline page. Animation each item, meaning each item appear one by one. Okay, that's the animation. And here is the narration. In these slides, they are going to say, in this presentation, I'm going to cover the following parts. First, I'm going to start with a brief introduction of my company, and followed by blah, 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 blah. Okay, and the third page about us. Here, in this third page, they are going to ask the audience a question. And then 30 seconds for interaction. So here, they are going to use 30 seconds to interact with the audience. So here, transition. Before I start, would you like to take a guess what niche market for our company, Reborn? What is the market for my company? And then here, wait 30 seconds for the presenter to interact with the audience. Here, this is the activity design. So, this is the storyboard. How you can use storyboard to help you organize your presentation. Okay, and I think this is very effective, especially it's a teamwork. Okay, especially it's a team project. So everyone can see what's going on for each slide. And so you can add, you can delete. In fact, there are a lot of free storyboard templates on the net. You can Google storyboard, and then you can collaborate, cooperate using the storyboard. Especially it's a team project. Okay. Okay. So storyboard, a PowerPoint presentation, and that's the earlier. This is what my students produced in the previous several years. I asked them to produce a film. So they draw a picture about this shot, what they are going to film for this shot, and what needs to be included and what they need to say for this shot. So storyboard is for you to organize PowerPoint or when you try to produce a film. Okay, so this is the first shot. This is what music or sound effect, and this is the narration. So a storyboard is effective for presentation, especially it's a team project. Okay, and then here is the storyboard template, and you can make your own storyboard template. It's quite easy. 3 columns, 3格. Okay, the slides, the activity, music and sound, and narration, your script. What you are going to say for each slide. Okay, so you can make your own template. All right, so that's storyboard, a PowerPoint presentation. Okay. And now, our final part, delivery. Okay, here, I would like you to watch this film first. And if you Google it, this is by Julian Treasure. This film is being watched by 3,600万人. 3,600万. 360, more than 360 million viewers have watched this video. And the title of this TED Talk is How to Speak So That People want to listen. So how you speak, so people will listen to you. And there are some techniques to use, okay? And let's watch this film before I continue. Do you see that? That's how many viewers, okay? Oh, 32, I'm sorry. 32 million people have watched this film, okay?
The human voice. It's the instrument we all play. It's the most powerful sound in the world, probably. It's the only one that can start a war or say, I love you. And yet many people have the experience that when they speak, people don't listen to them. Why is that? How can we speak powerfully to make change in the world? Well, I'd like to suggest there are a number of habits that we need to move away from. I've assembled for your pleasure here 7 deadly sins of speaking. I'm not pretending this is an exhaustive list. But these 7, I think, are pretty large. The habits that we can all fall into.
Okay, so next, he is going to present the 7 habits that people have developed. And these 7 habits are not good, okay, are bad for communication and presentation. Okay, so let's pay attention to these 7 core habits.
First, gossip. Speaking ill of somebody who's not present. Not a nice habit, and we know perfectly well the person gossiping 5 minutes later will be gossiping about us. Second, judging. We know people who are like this in conversation, and it's very hard to listen to somebody if you know that you're being judged and found wanting at the same time. Third, negativity. You can fall into this. My mother in the last years of her life became very, very negative, and it's hard to listen. I remember one day I said to her, it's October the 1st today, and she said, I know, isn't it dreadful? It's hard to listen when somebody's that negative. And another form of negativity, complaining. Well, this is the national art of the UK. It's our national sport. We complain about the weather, about sport, about politics, about everything. But actually complaining is viral misery. It's not spreading sunshine and lightness in the world. Excuses. We've all met this guy. Maybe we've all been this guy. Some people have a blame thrower. They just pass it on to everybody else and don't take responsibility for their actions. And again, hard to listen to somebody who's being like that. Penultimate, the 6th of the 7, embroidery, exaggeration. It demeans our language, actually, sometimes. For example, if I see something that really is awesome, what do I call it? And then, of course, this exaggeration becomes lying, out and out lying, and we don't want to listen to people we know are lying to us. And finally, dogmatism. The confusion of facts with opinions. When those two things get conflated, you're listening into the wind. You know, somebody is bombarding you with their opinions as if they were true. It's difficult to listen to that.
Okay, so these 7 core habits is the one people don't listen to, including complaining, judgmental, okay, lying, okay, what else? Negativity. Too negative. So that's why people don't listen to you. That's how that's a poor communication. Okay.
So here they are, 7 deadly sins of speaking. These are things I think we need to avoid. But is there a positive way to think about this? Yes, there is. I'd like to suggest that there are 4 really powerful cornerstones, foundations, that we can stand on if we want our speech to be powerful and to make change in the world.
Okay, so the next is the 4 aspects of speech that CP will share.
Fortunately, these things spell a word. The word is hail, and it has a great definition as well. I'm not talking about the stuff that falls from the sky and hits you on the head.
Hail, H-A-I-L, has several meanings. Hail, meaning 领导的爱 cheerful, hail, 打招呼就是 cheerful. Okay, so there are different meanings for hail. Okay, 我指的是热情欢呼喝彩。Okay.
I'm talking about this definition, to greet or acclaim enthusiastically, which is, I think, how our words will be received if we stand on these four things. So what do they stand for? See if you can guess. The H, honesty, of course. Being true in what you say, being straight and clear. The A is authenticity, just being yourself. A friend of mine described it as standing in your own truth, which I think is a lovely way to put it. The I is integrity, being your word, actually doing what you say, and being somebody people can trust. And the L is love. I don't mean romantic love, but I do mean wishing people well.
Okay, so when you put hail into your presentation, I think it works too. For you, you want to provide what your solution and the good for, and then the truth to yourself, and then hopefully the contents of your presentation will be good for your audience, good for the environment, good for the business. And then authenticity, be yourself. You don't want to present on the stage to pretend you are someone else. Okay, if you tend to be nervous, that's good. Nervous is good. Okay, so 曾经我看过 I have seen children who were coached to be presented by some cram school in Taiwan. 何家人我看过何家人的广告。And in those commercial, kids present their speeches like, "Hi, my name is Owen. I'm going to present how to save the world. Number 1 is to don't use plastic. Number 2, and that is what? To exaggerate. 太夸张. Okay, so be yourself. If you are Owen, you are Jason. You tend to talk like this. Okay, be yourself, but use enthusiasm, okay? And because you want to reach the audience to receive this information, good information, okay?
For two reasons. First of all, I think absolute honesty may not be what we want. I mean, my goodness, you look ugly this morning. Perhaps that's not necessary. Tempered with love, of course, honesty is a great thing. But also, if you're really wishing somebody well, it's very hard to judge them at the same time. I'm not even sure you can do those two things simultaneously. So, hail. Also, now that's what you say, and it's like the old song, it is what you say, it's also the way that you say it. You have an amazing toolbox. This instrument is incredible, and yet this is a toolbox that very few people have ever opened. I'd like to have a little rummage in there with you now. Just pull a few tools out that you might like to take away and play with, which will increase the power of your speaking. Register, for example. Now, falsetto register may not be very useful most of the time, but there's a register in between. I'm not going to get very technical about this for any of you who are voice coaches. You can locate your voice, however. So if I talk up here in my nose, you can hear the difference if I go down here in my throat, which is where most of us speak from most of the time. But if you want weight, you need to go down here to the chest. You hear the difference? We vote for politicians with lower voices. It's true. Because we associate depth with power and with authority.
Okay, so that's register. So those sounds like 林志玲, right? There's a famous actress in Taiwan. Her register tends to be very up here. So you can practice to lower your voice. Okay, so sounds that lower your register, and that will sound more authoritative and more powerful. Okay, that is register.
That's register. And we have timbre. It's the way your voice feels. Again, the research shows that we prefer voices which are rich, smooth, warm, like hot chocolate. Well, if that's not you, that's not the end of the world, because you can train. Go get a voice coach. And there are amazing things you can do with breathing, with posture, and with exercises to improve the timbre of your voice. Then prosody. I love prosody. This is the sing-song, the meta-language that we use in order to impart meaning. It's root one for meaning in conversation. People who speak all on one note are really quite hard to listen to if they don't have any prosody at all. That's where the word monotonic comes from, or monotonous, monotone. Also, we have repetitive prosody now coming in, where every sentence ends as if it were a question, when it's actually not a question, it's a statement. And if you repeat that one over and over, it's actually restricting your ability to communicate through prosody, which I think is a shame. So let's try and break that habit.
Okay, this is very important. I would like to remind you. A lot of students
In fact, a lot of students will show up. Today, I'd like to present this topic about marine pollution. That is what he just described. Monotonal, okay, 单音调 okay, or 每一个音节都要上升的。I would like to present the presentation today, and I hope you will enjoy, to raise the tone at the end of the sentence, and that is not good too. But I think the Taiwanese students tend to use monotone, 单音调. Okay, I would like to present today the topic about and that is not effective. Okay.
Pace. I can get very, very excited by saying something really, really quickly, or I can slow right down to emphasize. And at the end of that, of course, is our old friend, silence. There's nothing wrong with a bit of silence in a talk, is there? We don't have to fill it with ums and ahs. It can be very powerful. Of course, pitch.
Okay, so sometimes you need to stop, be silent, and then the audience will, what's going on? You will raise your voice. Suddenly you stop your presentation. So use silence occasionally, so the audience will listen to you. Okay, so pace. Pace is very important. We can practice a little bit later. And the pitch.
Often goes along with pace to indicate arousal, but you can do it just with pitch. Where did you leave my keys? Where did you leave my keys? It's a slightly different meaning in those two deliveries. And finally, volume. I can get really excited by using volume, sorry about that, if I startled anybody. Or I can have you really pay attention by getting very quiet. Some people broadcast the whole time, try not to do that. That's called sodcasting. Imposing your sound on people around you carelessly and inconsiderately, not nice. Of course, where this all comes into play most of all is when you've got something really important to do. It might be standing on a stage like this and giving a talk to people. It might be proposing marriage, asking for a raise, a wedding speech, whatever it is. If it's really important, you owe it to yourself to look at this toolbox and the engine that it's going to work on. And no engine works well without being warmed up. Warm up your voice.
Warm up.
Actually, let me show you how to do that. Would you all like to stand up?
Okay, would you like to all stand up? I would like you to stand up with him. Listen to his instruction. Okay, listen. Okay, stand up. And follow his instruction. Okay, so stand up so you can warm up your voice before you speak. Okay? And follow what he does. Okay?
For a moment, I'm going to show you the 6 vocal warm-up exercises that I do before every talk I ever do. Anytime you're going to talk to anybody important, do these. First, arms up, deep breath in, and sigh out. Like that. One more time. Very good. Now we're going to warm up our lips, and we're going to go bop, 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 bop. Very good. And now, just like when you were a kid. Now your lips should be coming alive. We're going to do the tongue next with exaggerated la, 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 la. Beautiful. You're getting really good at this. And then roll an R. That's like champagne for the tongue. Finally, and if I can only do one, the pros call this the siren. It's really good. It starts with we and goes to or. The we is high, the or is low. So you go wee, or wee. Fantastic. Fantastic. Give yourselves a round of applause. Take a seat. Thank you. Next time you speak, do those in advance. Now, let me just put this in context to close. This is a serious point here. This is where we are now, right? We speak not very well into people who simply aren't listening in an environment that's all about noise and bad acoustics. I have talked about that on this stage in different phases. What would the world be like if we were speaking powerfully to people who are listening consciously in environments which were actually fit for purpose? Or to make that a bit larger, what would the world be like if we were creating sound consciously and consuming sound consciously and designing all our environments consciously for sound? That would be a world that does sound beautiful, and one where understanding would be the norm, and that is an idea worth spreading. Thank you.
Okay, so this is in terms of speed, value, okay, tone, okay, and different practices. Okay, so why don't we put them into practice? Okay. Right now, I would like you to go to my I'm going to ask you to practice this script. Okay? But I would like you to read, okay, this using some of the tips. Let me demo for you. Okay. Remember the pace and the tone. Alright, so for me I would say, and don't just come in and say good morning everyone. That is not effective. Okay, so when you come up to the stage, the first thing that you greet to the audience was, good morning everyone, right? Instead of good morning everyone. Sounds enthusiastic. Good morning everyone. Okay, good morning everyone. Even these two words you need to practice. Okay? And then for you to read, every word actually has different weight. 每一个字的重点其实不一样。For you to, usually we will emphasize on the content. Content, this is the focus of yours in this sentence, right? Before I start my presentation, okay. Before I start my presentation, let me share with you these statistics. Okay, so statistics, presentation are the focus words. Okay, so 你如果是这样念 before I start my presentation, let me share with you these statistics. Then, before I start my presentation, let me share with you these statistics. Okay? Pause a little bit about the statistics. And then, do you see I put dashes? Here is the place where you pause a little bit. 停下来一下下，只要是有 punctuation 的地方 ，you see punctuation, that's where you pause. Don't just read. 不要这样子。Before I start my presentation, let me share with you these statistics. Do you know in Taiwan, one person would die from lung cancer every year, every hour? That is reading, not presenting. What I would say is, before I start my presentation, let me share with you these statistics, and then pause. Do you know, in Taiwan, one person will die from lung cancer every hour? Okay? When there's a number in a presentation, pause a little bit so the audience will get the number. Okay? That means 3 people would die before the end of the class day. Isn't that shocking to you? Okay? Shocking. It's the key. So, and the pace, okay? Don't read it don't go through it too fast, okay? Make it a little bit slower. you to read these 2 points. Alright? Okay, so take a look. And then practice this a little bit. Read it to yourself, and then I'll ask you to sample things. Okay, choose practice one. And here, presentation, statistics, pause a little bit. Whenever comes to a number, slow down. Okay, slow down the number, emphasize the number. And when there's a question mark, raise your voice a little bit. Does that sound shocking to you? Slow down this sentence so the audience can have some reaction to your presentation. Don't just read, isn't that sound shocking to you? You don't sound shocking. How does the audience feel the effect of shocking? So you should say, isn't it shocking to you? Right? So allow the audience to feel the effect of shocking. Okay? So I'll give you several minutes research, and then we will practice a little bit. Okay. Lung cancer. This is a more difficult word to pronounce it. Statistics. 统计数 statistics. Would you like to try first? Yeah? Could you stand up? Probably easier for you to pronounce. Okay? Or would you like to stand up to the stage? Okay, good. Okay, try. Okay. And do you need a mic? No? Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Before I start my presentation, let me share with you these statistics. Do you know in Taiwan, 1 person would die from lung cancer every hour? That means 3 people would die before the end of our class today. Isn't it shocking to you?
Okay, give her a round of applause. Good.
Okay, good. I specifically like where he stops here. She stopped a little bit. She paused. 她在这里停了一下. That means 3 people would die from the end of would die before the end of our class. Okay, good. I noticed that the number you saw, you pause a little bit, you raise your voice, and then the only thing that I would suggest to you is probably at the beginning, this is the hook, right? So the speed could be a little bit slower. Okay, could be a little bit slower. Okay, Tracy, would like to try?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So, good morning, everyone. Before I start my presentation, I would like to share with you one statistics. Do you know in Taiwan, 1 person would die from lung cancer every hours, and that means 3 people would die from lung cancer before the end of our class today. And isn't it shocking to you?
Okay, good.
Thanks. Okay, so because this is new to you, so you are not familiar with the content yet. But the other thing is fluency. If you are not familiar with your lines, the script, you tend to stop from time to time, and that will lose the fluency. 这个流畅度就会断掉。Okay, so you need to build up the fluency for the presentation. So one thing you need to do is definitely you need to memorize your script so the fluency will continue. Okay, or it can be established. Jason, would you like to try? Let's invite gentlemen. Okay, let's try.
See you. 没关系，试看看。
Good morning, everyone. Before I start my presentation, let me share with you this statistic. Do you know in Taiwan, one person would die from leg cancer every hour? That means 3 people would be died before the end of our class today. Isn't it shock to you?
Yeah, okay. Good. I think this is a good try, but
Try. I think I appreciate the tone. You have some variation in the tone, but one thing that I would like to again is the speed. 只要是那个
标点符号的地方就是要稍微停一下。是你刚刚
每个句子可能都一直讲下去，你每个句子讲得很好，可是中间没有停顿的地方，所以会念起来是每个句子都是一样的，除了最后一句，你有讲说 Isn't that shocking to you？ 这句你就有断，但是前面的老师念给你听，刚刚语调有很不错，但是中间每一个句子都连起来。Okay? Before I start my presentation, let me share with you these statistics. Do you know in Taiwan, one person would die from lung cancer every hour? That means 3 people would die before the end of the class today. Isn't that shocking to you? 你有发现中间只要是一个句子的地方，我稍微对一下，要不然你每一个句子都连在一起，除了刚刚你最后一个句子。Individually point out, use a very different strategy. 但前面的你都连起来，但是还好你的语调上上下下。Okay, so try to let the audience digest the information. Okay. What about Grace? Grace, could you try?
You want to exercise your tongue and your mouth. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Before I start my presentation, let me share with you these statistics. Do you know in Taiwan, one person would die from lung cancer every hour? That means 3 people would die before the end of our class today. Isn't it shocking to you?
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, the only suggestion is this. Okay, you need to raise a little bit at the end of the sentence because this is a question. Okay, so do you know in Taiwan, one person would die from lung cancer every hour? Okay, raise your voice at the end of the question. Okay, Jenny, would you like to try? Okay.
But the speed is good. 速度是 OK。
Good morning, everyone. Before I start my presentation, let me share with you these statistics. Do you know in Taiwan, one person would die from lung cancer every hour? That means 3 people would die before the end of our class today. Isn't it shocking to you?
Okay, good. Thank you.
I like Jenny's voice. Very clear, very crispy. There's a high clarity in your voice. 你的声音是很清亮的、清脆的 and very clear. Okay, so So I think that you'll have a good quality, the song quality of yours. But again, so don't make it read through it, okay? But I appreciate your effort. You raised the voice for the question, and you should make a good use of your. And I'm sorry, I forgot. All of you so far have presented a good energy. 你们刚刚展现出来的都是有活力 ，good energy and sounds enthusiasm. And I think this is very important. 如果你站起来都是没有力气。Good morning, everyone. Today I'd like to present my topic. Blah 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 blah. It don't sound you really like this topic. Okay, so sounds enthusiastic. How about you, gentlemen? Would you like to try? Owen, okay. Why don't you try? And then Andy can record it for you. Okay? Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Before I start my presentation, let me share with you this statistic. Do you know in Taiwan, one person would die from lung cancer every hour? That means 3 people would die before the end of our class today. Isn't it shocking to you?
Thank you. Okay. Andy, 你要试吗? Would you like to try? Yes. Very good. And I like the very good the greeting, and he pauses at every sentence, and then that is good. Okay. Andy. Okay.
Right. Good morning, everyone. Before I start my presentation, let me share with you these statistics. Do you know in Taiwan, one person would die from lung cancer every hour? That means 3 people will die before the end of our class today. Isn't it shocking to you?
Oh, excellent. Great. Andy, you also have a good quality of voice, of sound. Clear. Okay. Good song quality and clear. And actually, all of you have very good song quality. Voice, the quality of your voice is good. And then I'm so glad every one of you say this sentence with good energy. And that is what you need to do when you present. Starting from the very beginning, show your energy. Show how much you would like to be here to present today. Okay? That is the energy. Okay, so I don't intend for you to practice the remaining, but I think you get the sense. So I would like to share the following tips. Okay. Let me go to my final page. Okay, so you got a sense. Don't just read from the script. So for you to prevent reading from the script, you need to practice. You need to memorize your script, okay? And that is important. So practice. So when you come up with your script, you need to practice, you need to rehearse. Okay, so rehearse it several times, especially the hook. Even for me, before I go present in conferences, I work on the beginning. I especially spent a lot of time working on the beginning of my presentation. If I can't get the audience attention in my beginning of the presentation, basically they won't continue to listen to me. So pay special attention at the beginning of your presentation. So practice. Practice makes perfect. Being nervous is okay. Okay, so being nervous meaning you care. You care about these tasks. If you don't feel nervous, meaning you don't care. So if you feel nervous, that is a good thing because that means you care this task. So how do you reduce your nervousness? have to say practice. You need to practice and memorize your script. That will greatly reduce your nervousness, okay? So, follow the script. Write up your script, and especially for you, if you are not so confident about your English, you definitely need to memorize the script. And so you won't feel nervous because you are prepared. And the last thing is body languages. How do you carry yourself? Okay, remember in the films, they are, Julia Treasure said, be authentic. You are who you are. Don't pretend to be someone else you don't know. Don't give the audience the gesture. Number one, number two, that is not yourself. We don't talk like that. Okay, when we present. So the body language, okay. Have you noticed the TED presenters? What do they do? Where do they stand? The TED Talk presenters, where do they stand? Do they stand at one point and without moving? No, they walk around, like what I am doing right now. So where do you stand when you present? Okay, for students, if you are not comfortable, 对不起，你们要在哪里 present？ 这里 Here, okay? So look at the arrangement of this stage. Where are you going to stand? Are you going to stand on the platform besides your PowerPoints? Or are you going to stand here and walk around? Okay? And are you going to use the pointer? Okay? Think about it. Think about this as a performance. 老师每次都会想说 presentation 就是在演戏。You're going to perform yourself, okay? It's like you're acting. So, are you going to use the pointer? If you are going to use the pointer, practice it with the pointer. Okay, so I would say, for me, if the arrangement is like this, I would stay here rather than here. But you need to have interaction with your PowerPoint and with your audience. Don't do that. First, don't just read from the script. Practice makes perfect. Being nervous is okay. So what the audience will see, the back of your head. No, you don't want the audience to look at the back of your head all the time. You need to establish eye contact with your audience from time to time. So you will look at them and then go back to your PowerPoint, and then again look at them occasionally, and then go back to your PowerPoint. Don't just stare at your PowerPoint. 老师教你们一个 tips. 下面是老师，你很害怕看到他们 ，you're afraid of to stare at your professors. 老师教你们，你可以看，但是不看他。什么叫做看不看他？就是眼睛就是这样。对，扫过去就好，你不要看他们的脸，你会害怕，你会 feel nervous。所以你的 strategy 就是你只要扫过去好，让他们觉得你有在看他，假装一下，这样 you don't stare at them, but you pretend you are looking at the audience, but in fact you are not really looking at them. Okay, so but establish eye contact. Okay, so body languages. 那试看看好不好 ？Try. Okay, you walk around. You have some interaction with your audience by seeing them but not seeing them, and then go back to the PowerPoint. So your body language will like this, and then go back to the audience, and then go back to the PowerPoint. So don't just stare at the PowerPoint all the time. Okay, so, and then don't fidget yourself. 不要把自己 lock, don't lock yourself here. If you are going to stand up here, you'll probably stand down a little bit and stand up again. So you have some movement, so you will feel much easier. And the audience, you don't look nervous. If you stand here without moving all the time, you probably make yourself more nervous. Okay, so stand here a little bit and then walk around, and then it takes practice to increase your confidence. Okay. Alright, body languages. So that's the tips for the delivery. Okay? I know some of you have exams, so you need to leave earlier, but before you leave, here I would like to say a couple of words for you to, some PowerPoint skills, okay? For you to highlight the point. And you can Google it from the web, from the internet. There are a lot of PowerPoint skills. For instance, how to highlight the word using animation. For instance, in the next slide. There are 2 points on this slide. So do you see that when I move to the second point, the first point will become gray. So the audience focus will on the second point. So play with the animation. Okay, and then zoom. Okay, if you have morph, 就是转场功能. If you have more effects on your PowerPoint, okay, you can use the zoom. Okay, and then you will create a great effect. Let me show you.
Quickly, before you leave.
With this tutorial, I will show you a couple of ways how you can utilize the morph feature to make this type of zooming into your slides and into the elements that you've either designed or you have on your slide. A really simple and beautiful transition between elements, so it's worth watching and learning. I will show you this on an example JPEG file and on an example design slide in PowerPoint. For all this to work, you will need at least PowerPoint 2019 or the Microsoft 365 subscription, which gives you the newest version because we need the morph transition. If you do happen to have a slide like that and you'd like to zoom into the portions of the slide, there's a very simple way of doing so. You will take the slide and you will duplicate the slide with the existing item on it. I'm just zooming out of the slide and I'm resizing this element to take a larger portion of my screen, because I want to focus on number 1. Then again, I click on this slide, duplicate, and I need to move it so it focuses on number 2. You will repeat the steps for each item you want to zoom in. For example, if on the next slide, I'm Ctrl D again, you want to zoom into the 5, you will just place that into the middle of the screen. Alright, to not make this any longer, if you want to end the sequence, what I usually do, I take the very first slide, where we have like everything, I press Ctrl C, I go to the very last portion of the section, and I press Ctrl V, like start and finish with the same type of slide. You can see on the left side how does this look. I'm just selecting the last slide, Shift, pressing the first slide, so every of those 5 slides are selected, and I'm clicking Morph. There's nothing more to it. If you go to the first slide right now, and I press F5, we will have the first original slide. Now, as I click to the next slide, it will automatically zoom, morph into this section of the image. Then we have number 2. As I press the next slide was number 5, as you can see here. And the next slide was returning to the basic option. How cool is that? You can zoom into portions of your slide, and then come back to the original image.
Okay, so that's morph. Okay?
Morph 转场功能，试看看。Okay, if your PowerPoint is 365, and then or 在学校的如果是36 Office 36的话 you can use the morph and to design and select all of them and use morph, and then you will have these kind of effect zoom in, and that instantly 马上就让你的 PowerPoint make your PowerPoints look very professional. Okay, so use 转场功能. Okay, morph. Okay, and 数字动画. Okay, you can Google that. I'm not going to go through those details. So try to use these different PowerPoint skills, okay, to make your presentation. See, actually, I practice. This is how I use morph. Okay, this is I morph the 2 slides. See that? Okay, I designed the 2 slides. The first slide looked like this, and the second slide looked like this, and then I simply choose these 2 slides and use morph 转场, and then the effect have the animation effect like this. Okay, the first slide and the second slide, and I didn't do anything. I simply click morph. 我只是点转场功能. So that will make your PowerPoint more interesting to look at and more professional. Okay,
So try these different skills. Okay, and then
I think that's it for today's presentation. And I would like to ask any questions or comments. Okay, I'll
stay here for, I think if any one of you would have questions, I'll stay here, but some of you can leave earlier if you have examination, I know. And then I'll stay here until 11:50, 因为我们刚刚没有休息，所以我们又提早10分钟下课，所以我们是11点50分下课。但是老师 I will stay here to answer your questions or comments, or if you have any PowerPoints I would like to correct for you. But if there's no, you are free to leave, but I will say, okay. Okay, so good luck to your final presentation. I'll probably will be invited to look at your presentation at the end of the semester by your dean. 可能会院长 邀请我来。Yes?
I would be proud.
Oh, you are coming to make it up. Good for you. I will pay attention to Tracy's presentation. Okay, that is thank you for your good words, and I really look forward to your great presentation.
Thank you,
Okay.
Professor.
Okay, and good luck with your exam. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
加油喽 and work on your